Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org. I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Johnny DiLoretto, and this is Cinema Classics, and we are at Gateway Film Center with special guest Sherlock Holmes expert extraordinaire, deer slayer cap wearing, magnifying glass wielding.
Yeah. The only thing we need to do is smoke a pipe. We need a pipe. Okay.
We didn't introduce you yet, Wayne.
Oh.
Did I already say Wayne?
No, you didn't. And this is Wayne Miller, whom I've known for about 35 years.
Yep.
And over the years, he has accumulated more Sherlock Holmes paraphernalia than any other human being, plus the knowledge that goes in that brilliant head of his.
Oh.
Obviously, we're talking about Sherlock Holmes because this new variation of Sherlock Holmes is coming out. Mr. Holmes, starring Ian McKellen, as an aging Holmes who is sort of losing his legendary faculties. They're ebbing, and he's working on a final case, right? And Wayne, you saw this movie. We showed you a little special screening of it. What did you think?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. We did a review for its movie time, and we gave it a B+, and really good. I think McClellan does an excellent job. His Holmes here is 93 years old, and it's post-World War II England, and very good. And you get a little bit of a taste of not only that, the cinematography, the production's very good, but also there's flashbacks about 30 years before, right after World War I, so you get a little bit of the taste of the Edwardian London too.
Okay, so how does McKellen's performance as the greatest detective of all time stand up? I mean, does he rank in your all-time great portrayals of Sherlock Holmes?
Yes. Of course, my generation, we were talking about that, Basil Rathbone, was usually...
And your generation was around when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was
around there.
Publishing.
There was like a one-reeler in 1900.
McKellen. And he has the mannerisms, and I think the kind of the quirky personality is Jeremy Brett, who a lot of people also think of ranks up there as one of the all-time best Holmes.
And Jeremy Brett's portrayal was a BBC series portrayal?
Yep, and it was on PBS here in the States, and unfortunately, Jeremy's been dead for a number of years now, but those, they're very faithful adaptations, the Brett series. Very good, great production values, great portrayal of two different actors who played Dr. Watson. And that's probably the only thing about the Rathbone series I didn't like, especially as the series went on. The Nigel Bruce Dr. Watson just became a real buffoon. And in the canon, in the stories, Watson was anything but a buffoon. He was intelligent, he was a very brave man, a very good medical doctor, war hero, and I think, just couldn't see that.
So you're talking about the original Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce.
Back 1939, there were, for the audience out there, two excellent adaptations of one of
Hound.
The Hound of the Baskervilles, and in that same year, 1939, 20th Century Fox made the series, made those first two, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which were very good. 3 years later, Universal picked up the series, updated Holmes to the 1940s, and had him battling Nazis and things like that, and little by little, the series went downhill.
Okay. And that's my favorite. Hound of the Baskervilles scared the bejesus out of my kids. The 1939, they've never forgotten it.
Really?
It's really a haunting, it's an excellent, which made Rathbone my favorite too. And I have to admit that Brett is, but I like McKellen. Who would have thought?
Well, let me ask you,
years old.
Let's fast forward. I mean, this character is arguably as popular today as he has ever been. You have 3 contemporaneous portrayals of Sherlock Holmes going on right now. You have Benedict Cumberbatch on Sherlock.
Yep.
You have Johnny Lee Miller on Elementary.
Very good series, too.
And currently in the movies, we're looking forward to possibly a third Robert Downey Jr. portrayal. Where do these guys stack up in your personal canon?
Those 3? Cumberbatch, very good. And the two things with Cumberbatch and the Miller series, once again, Holmes is updated to the present time.
Yeah.
So you really have to make allowances for that, the modern sensibilities, and I think Cumberbatch really pulls that off. But I also think Johnny Lee Miller does a superb job with as Holmes as a drug addict, and the Dr. Watson on that series is Lucy Liu, who plays his sober companion, hired by his father to keep him sober. I think they're very good. I like the Downey series, even though that Downey as an actor, sometimes I just, his mannerisms always his muggings always kind of bothered me. Now, John, though, does not like the Downey.
I mean, I do appreciate it. I particularly like some of the very fancy within his head stuff.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I really like Jude Law.
Jude Law, excellent.
Helps him out a lot.
They have great chemistry, those
Yeah,
two, in that
yeah.
series. The series is played, the action is amped up. They're adventure films.
Yeah.
It's also, the humor is sort of ratcheted up as well. They're more action comedies than anything. However, I think that if applied to a more serious sort of endeavor, Robert Downey would make a terrific, serious Holmes.
Yeah.
I think he would, and he had some traces of that in both the movies. But the one thing I did like about Downey's portrayal, and a lot of people thought, oh my God, he's too much of an action figure, his fighting and boxing and things like that. But in the stories, as written by Conan Doyle, that he really, he was an expert boxer. He knew jujitsu. So I could, easily see, butt kicking Sherlock Holmes, and I think Downey does that.
Well, Rathbone had just made it as if it were Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
His portrayal was not kinetic, and therefore you're really surprised by Downey. But with that visage, with that presence of Rathbone, it was tough to overcome it, even with Downey, and all that kind of postmodern angst and action. Yeah.
Well, and also, some of the other supporting actors and actresses are very quirky. More Brother Mycroft, that I think is in both movies. I know at least the second one. Rachel McAdams.
How about that?
Irene Adler.
See, now that made me a believer in
Yes,
Irene
I like that. And in the second one, very good Moriarty. If you have a hero, you really need a strong villain, or you're not going to believe that context of
Right.
that.
What's fascinating about this character is that we just mentioned 3 different actors who played him within the last 10 years. Probably no other fictional character has been played by as many different actors. And what's interesting is how they all fit in this vast tapestry.
Yeah.
The Robert Downey Jr. comedic action portrayal only exists and can exist because it exists in relation to so many other serious portrayals. And there have been other comic portrayals of Sherlock Holmes.
The private life of Sherlock Holmes and that actor, Robert Stevens, and the movie was directed by the top-notch film director, Billy Wilder. This movie was in the 60s, and very funny, very good. I would say probably, as far as serious actors playing it, Peter Cushing was very good.
Yeah.
The recently deceased Christopher Lee did an excellent Holmes. Earlier today, I told John that somebody had asked me my favorite Holmes movie, and I'd have a hard time really coming up with one. Definitely the Rathbone, the first 2, the Hound and the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. But I always recommend to people another butt-kicking Holmes, played by John Neville, who people who are fans of X-Files would remember him as the well-manicured man. And he played Holmes in 1965, the first film portrayal of Holmes taking on or trying to find Jack the Ripper. And Neville plays a very good, almost a good cross between a Jeremy Brett and a Downey, as far as a cerebral Holmes, but one who could really, take care of some action, some good fight scenes. But A Study in Terror, 1965, a little-known British production.
What about Nicole Williamson and Robert Duvall?
Robert Duvall as Watson, Williamson as Holmes in The 7% Solution.
Yeah.
And interesting book. Happened to meet the author of the book and got his autograph. And at a Sherlock Holmes conference in Indiana a couple of years ago, and they screened the 7% solution. And in the book, once again, it's Nicholas Meyer, the author, did 3 books where Holmes would meet real life historical figures.
Yeah.
In this case, Watson takes Holmes to Sigmund Freud to kick his cocaine habit. And so there's a little strange, but very good. And I think what really makes that movie too, Vanessa Redgrave is in it, and she does an excellent job.
All right, Eddie, we're gonna have to stop you there, Wayne.
Right now,
because-
please.
Yeah, because I know this is fast becoming a marathon session of cinema classics. We
Sorry.
don't have that much airtime. Let's continue the conversation with Wayne next week. Sherlock Holmes Part 2.
Sounds good. I'll be here.